customer looks up your business on the local review site and the reviews are horrible. Customers have missed orders, horrible experiences. They don't believe in your business. Every business owner's worst nightmare, right? In episode 5 today, we are talking building influence with customers as you take your business to the next level. This season, we're unpacking the tools you need to effectively connect and collaborate with your team. Are you ready to build your personal toolbox? All that and more right now on the New Generation Leader on IBGR Profit Radio to start, grow, and exit your business. You're listening to the IBGR Network, International Business Growth Radio Network. We're more than just a radio station. We truly are a network, and we'll talk more about that throughout the show today. We are live across North America and around the world. Good afternoon, Virginia Beach. This is Thursday, November 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Pacific Time. And the U.S. is still uncertain who will be president come January, but we do know this: your business rests on the influence you hold with customers. So more on that today here on the New Generation Leader on IBGR's People Track. I'm Aaron Lee, your host, and welcome to today's episode. Now, I would love to have you join in the conversation throughout the show today. Why don't you hop on our website at ibgr.network and click the blinking question mark. That question mark is a great way for you to jump into the show, ask a question as it comes to your mind during the show today, and we'll answer it live on the air and continue that conversation. Here's one other way you can connect to the IBGR network. As I said, this is more than just a radio station. It's more than just people talking and listeners listening. We are in this together. We are in this for you. So download the new IBGR app in your favorite app store. It's available and you can jump into the community, join the conversation, follow show notes, listen to the show throughout the week as we walk through finance, operations, people, marketing, and how to grow and exit your business and take your business to the next level. So incredible opportunities here in the network. So today on the New Generation Leader, we're talking customers, how we build influence with customers. And here's why I talk about building influence with customers. Your customers are a vital part of your business. You need them. You have to have them in order to succeed and move forward. But how do you talk about customers with your team? How do you talk about the value that you place on customers, what they mean to your business, and how your team can respond to them? A few years back, I worked with my uncle in his Smoky Mountain cabin business. And this is a vacation getaway destination in the southeastern United States. We drew from the Great Lakes to Texas to Florida to the Mid-Atlantic. A vast portion of the U.S. would travel, and even travelers from around the world. And in this business, I got a front row seat. Customer relations was my primary role in helping to lead this business. And I got to see the good, the bad, the ugly, the challenges, the day-to-day work that we had to do to make sure we were meeting customer expectations. And this wasn't just a transaction. It wasn't just about getting the sale, doing good enough, cleaning the cabin, and getting the next renter in. This was about developing relationships, making this such an experience that these customers would come back time and time again, year after year. In fact, in this small business, maybe half a dozen cabins in the Smokies, we would have people who would sometimes come back multiple times a year. In the summer, maybe with extended family. In the fall, with just one other couple or one other family. And maybe in the spring, they'd come back just their family. And each time they wanted to spend time in one of our cabins. And as I pull back the layers on that experience, why did we get to that level of customer loyalty? Why did we have those raving fans who told other people about us? Well, it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't easy. It took years to develop this. But I think about some of our experiences. Every business is going to have those customers. In this cabin business, we would have the folks who would come in and never failed when a new guest would check in the summertime after traveling hundreds of miles with all of their food in the back seat of a hot car, baking in the sun. They would get in and load all of that hot food in the refrigerator. And I don't know if you've ever put that much hot food into a refrigerator, but the refrigerator has a little bit of a hard time catching up. And without fail, we would get a phone call a few hours into the evening after a family had checked in. Hey, unfortunately, the refrigerator doesn't seem to be cooling. Well, that taught me a lesson that we'll come back to in a little bit. But those experiences happened all the time. The phone would ring, an email, a message would come in, and we would have to respond to those customer needs. So how do you go the extra mile? How do you develop these raving fans who truly want to be not just a one-time customer, not just a transaction, but a repeat customer that builds over time? And if you think about what value that adds for your business, the stronger your customer base is, the more repeat customers you have. There are lots of benefits to this. So for one, you can start to look as a business leader at what is the cost of getting a new customer? What steps do I have to go through to form that relationship, to get someone new to walk in the door and make a transaction with us, to become a customer, to become part of our business network? And that calculation can be really important because often it will remind you that if I keep this customer, it's far less costly than trying to find a new customer. And that's what I saw in this cabin business. When we were able to go the extra mile, maybe it was a couple on a honeymoon and we left a small gift basket. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't cost that much more, but they remembered it. Not only did they remember it, but they told someone else about it. And as they told somebody else about it, they began to do our marketing work for us. So as you think about those little pieces along the way, what is it that your business needs? How can you build these steps, these values, these responses into the culture of your business so that all of your employees know, hey, I can go the extra mile to serve this customer, to make sure that they are not just satisfied and get their product, but wholly, overwhelmingly satisfied with what they've experienced in such a way that they will come back and become a repeat customer. And not only a repeat customer, but a raving fan in the way that they will share this with those around them. A really good customer does a great work, takes a huge load off of your marketing team. They give this push behind your marketing team to make their efforts go even further. I was sitting down with one of our clients a few weeks ago, and we were talking about how they respond to customers in their business. Now, this is the construction industry, and there are some key ways that they go about getting new business. And as they talk to folks in their industry across the country and other areas, not competitors, but like minded business in other regions. They started to discuss how they gain new customers. And what they realized was some of our tactics for gaining new customers might not be necessary anymore. And so a coupon and a first offer, a Val Pack offer that goes out in the mail, this business routinely used that as a way to get someone in the door. If you come in, you make a purchase, we'll offer you this discount. What they realized was this wasn't influencing the closing of a sale. This wasn't, it didn't have an impact on gaining a new customer. And so they did away with it. But then the challenge came in when a customer came in and was pitting this business against a competitor across town who still kept this offer. And the business ended up losing a significant customer because they hadn't built in the value, the policy, and the understanding with the team of here's what we can do to make sure we don't lose a sale. If it means we give this extra deal, here's an option. And you are wholly and completely empowered. If it comes down to it, and this is going to seal the deal, turn a no into a yes, and bring us a new customer, here's a way you can do this. And we see this in a number of industries in how folks can affect change with customers. So we'll talk more about influence in the next segment after a short break. You're listening to IBGR, the new generation leader. Thanks for listening to the New Generation Leader on IBGR. We are broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube, in addition to live on air at IBGR.network. Go to IBGR.network, click on show notes, and download today's show notes to build your toolbox as you become a new generation leader throughout this season. Thanks for listening today. We'll be back after a short break. And welcome back to the New Generation Leader on IBGR, International Business Growth Radio. We want to help you take your business to the next level here on Profit Radio. You're listening to the New Generation Leader, where we are talking about how to become the kind of leader the digital world needs you to be. There is such a monumental shift happening all around us, and technology is pushing that change, facilitating that change, and pushing us out to a new frontier. And we want to make sure you are equipped and ready to build a people strategy, to have influence and leadership, not only on those you lead, but also on those you serve, which is why today we are talking building influence with your customers. So as we get started in this segment, I want to turn your attention to the website. Go to ibgr.network and download the show notes. That will be a great way for you as you are building your toolbox throughout this season to have the tools that you need to take your team, your business to the next level. Each week, we're adding a piece to the toolbox to help you take your business to the next level, lead your team and those you have around you, those you've hired, those you're developing and cultivating into the leaders that you need for tomorrow. And we were just talking with a client this morning about how you build that 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan on here's who's in the role today. Who do I need in these roles tomorrow? How am I building in my 5 year plan? Building leaders for tomorrow. And that is going to start for you today. So we want to give you the tools that you need to start that journey, to start investing in the leaders that you need for tomorrow. So as we come back into this second segment, we're going to start looking at the influence model. And this model gives us a way to understand how relationships work. Now, I'm going to use an illustration of a networking group. And I hear this complaint a lot, as do my friends who are leading and involved in networking groups of all shapes and sizes. They invite somebody new to join a networking group, and this new individual comes into the group. They have a great meeting over 60, 90 minutes. They get to know a few people, hand out a few cards. Brandon Suba on the last hour of the show talked about handing out cards and making sure that somebody actually wants your card, which is an interesting idea as we think about building influence here. But back to our networking meeting. You hand out a few cards, you meet a few people, you shake a few hands, you know somebody new that you didn't know an hour and a half ago. But then nobody calls, nobody emails. And frankly, for a vast majority of us who aren't wired in a networking kind of way, we're let down by this. Nobody called us. Nobody wanted to do business with me. Well, the key ingredients that you're missing are the ingredients of influence. If we only go into a meeting and expect immediately to have a sale, then we're in transaction mode. And what we want to get to, and what we're talking about today, is how we build influence with customers. But really, the value of influence will play out all around us, whether it's in our family, in our neighborhood, our community, and the organizations we volunteer in, or in our business with those we lead, as well as with our customers. So let's talk about two of the first ingredients of building influence. The first two ingredients are character and chemistry. Character and chemistry. And somebody, as I sit here thinking, I'm going to call an audible, and we're going to save those for the next segment. Let's talk about credibility and competency. So I've just outlined those are the four ingredients of building influence: character, chemistry, credibility, and competency. And a lot of times We focus on the credibility and the competency in being transactional. If we are selling something, do we know what we're doing? Is this product going to be worth the cost of what a customer is investing? Am I going to get my money's worth? This can play out in a restaurant. Is this sandwich that I just ordered worth what I paid for it? Is it? Does it come out hot? Is the temperature right? Does it look edible? All of those questions we ask as a customer. Now, you could also say the same thing about a service business. Did this business, we'll say an installation team, I'm sitting here looking out the front windows of our house, and at some point, we're going to need new windows. So when I go to a window company, what am I looking for? I'm going to look for good windows and a good value. I don't want to pay beyond a reasonable cost, but I do want the window to work. I want it to look like it fits the house. I want it to be of good quality. And when that team comes to install the window, I want them to clean up after themselves. I want them not to leave ragged edges as they put a new replacement window in my house. But I want this to look good. I want it to be of good quality. I want to feel like this person knows what they are doing in installing the window. That is the competency. I have the skill set. And as we've talked about a great deal, we can have a competency. Even in our business strategy, we can have that business strategy. But we also need to know about ourselves, our tendencies, how we're wired, how we respond and communicate to the world around us, as well as how we interact with other people. And that's the same in building influence. It's not simply enough to be competent. So we've talked competency. This is a quality product. I know what I'm doing. Then we talk about credibility. And you put these two together and they're nuts and bolts, tactical items related to influence that you can sense and understand. This is a high quality product. It's worth what I paid. And the credibility of this organization is that they're going to tell me what they're going to do, and they're going to do what they told me they're going to do, and they're going to do it and meet expectations of quality as they go about delivering on our purchase. Now, the challenge is that's not the end of the story. There's far more to influence. And if you really think about the key customers that you have, if the relationship that you have with your customers is solely built on competency and credibility, that they come in, they pay you money, you deliver on what they expect, it is purely a transaction. And if you download the show notes, you'll see this tool that we have and how this is displayed. And part of this is a wall. We each have a wall of something we're trying to hide, something we're trying to prove, something we're afraid of losing. And we call this wall of self-preservation, it's restrictive. It keeps us in that transactional space because it doesn't allow us to lower the wall of self-preservation, to become secure, humble, and confident. And so that wall returns this customer back to transaction. We are only in a transactional space. Now, to be fair, there are very many businesses where I solely want to be a transaction. I went to a vendor the other day I needed a repair on my leaf blower because here in the mid-Atlantic, the leaves are falling. My yard is covered in leaves and I need to move them out. And my leaf blower broke. I went in. They said they would do the work. They've done the work for me before. I handed them the money. We exchanged, and I am a committed customer to this business. But it's purely transactional. Meanwhile, the dry cleaner down the street, another small local business, I go in about once a quarter, but we have moved beyond transaction. We have moved past that wall of self preservation. We're not trying to hide anything, we're not trying to prove anything. The business owner and myself, it's a two-way street, but we have had significant dialogue, significant communication. And so when we come back after this break, we'll dig more into those last two ingredients of character and chemistry and what that means when we put it together with credibility and competency to build influence. So you're listening to The New Generation Leader. I'm your host, Aaron Lee, on IBGR, International Business Growth Radio. We are on air all the time, all day, every day, giving you what you need to grow your business, to take your business to the next level. I hope you will take the opportunity to jump into our community, to follow us online, and be part of this conversation. And we'll be back here on The New Generation Leader after this short break to continue our conversation on building influence with our customers. You're listening to IBGR. Welcome back to the New Generation Leader on IBGR. Whether you're listening live or to one of our podcasts, you can always connect and interact with us on social media at IBGR Network on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, or follow a hashtag New Generation Leader. That's where we post the content, the threads, content throughout the week on this subject of how you can be the kind of leader the digital world needs you to be. This is episode 5 in our People Lane at IBGR Network, and we are building your toolbox to take your business to the next level, helping you become the leader the digital world needs you to be, and giving you the tools. This isn't just information. This isn't just recommendations. What I want to do throughout this season here on the New Generation Leader is to help you have the tools you need so that you can immediately go back to your team, back into your business, and start using these tools, putting them to use. So download the show notes, jump into the community, be part of our conversation throughout this season as we build our toolbox. So as we talked about in the last segment, we are building influence with customers, and influence is not just something you build with customers. So this tool can truly be something you use throughout your business with every member of your team, even with your family, your friends, your networking, your leadership in community organizations. You can use this everywhere. It's a fabulous tool. So we started with credibility and competency. The idea that if you're going to a vendor as a customer, you are looking for some expertise, some level of quality, that the value is going to match what the product cost, what the service cost, and that your return on that is worth it to you. That it's going to be something of quality that lasts. It's going to have an impact. This is the first 2 building blocks of influence. The second 2 are character and chemistry. So I talked about 2 of my favorite vendor businesses here locally. One, the small engine repair shop that I've frequented. I even purchased a used leaf blower from them a few years ago. I know that they are good at what they do. What I pay them is they're going to return my small engine back to me. It's going to be working and operational. They're going to take care of this. But we don't have a lot of chemistry. I don't really know anything about their character as individuals. This is purely a transactional relationship. But if I jump to my dry cleaner, they are one of my favorite shops here. I always get a warm welcome from the business owner. And in fact, I know here on radio, you can't see my face, but based on my name alone, many in our world will place me as being from Asia, or that my family is. And I am not. But with the last name Lee, a common Asian name, this is something that sticks out to the business owner of the dry cleaner. And so we've had many conversations because my name for her was a conversation starter. It allowed us to start a great interaction in one of my early visits to the shop, and we still do. She remembers every time she sees me, every time she sees my credit card, what my name is. And that's where the chemistry begins to take root. And so we're not just here for a transaction. They are an incredible service provider when it comes to what I need from a dry cleaner. They're doing great work. They're always timely. They take care of us. They do a great job. But it just takes it to another level when we add in this chemistry. Now, some of us go into a relationship solely looking for chemistry. Do I feel like I can engage with this person? But the challenge comes in if we don't have competency or credibility, then when we get to the deliverable misses the mark. Chemistry might be great. And if the chemistry is great, that might even make it harder to cut off this vendor, to end the business working relationship. But you have to, because the performance is not meeting expectations. And then there's character. Is this someone you can trust? Is this someone you believe their word, they honor their word? You know and understand when the words come out in conversation as you are communicating that this is a person who will honor their word and stick to the plan. Is this a reputable business, a reputable leader, a reputable salesperson? Is this somebody who I can believe in? Now, when we put all four of these together, you can imagine it almost like four locks. If you want to move beyond simply a transaction, you got to stick the key in, unlock, and engage all four of these components: credibility, competency, chemistry, and character. If any one of them or more are missing, we're simply in a transaction. But what I want you to think about is how you can take a transaction relationship with one of your customers, any of your customers. How can you take that to the next level? How can you build enough influence with them that their relationship with you is not solely about what you can deliver or not built on the chemistry that you have, but is truly built on all four of these building blocks? Your character is trustworthy. Your chemistry is relationally alive. There is a connection there beyond just business transactional engagement, but that you are working together. You are in this together. And that you are competent and credible. You are going to deliver what I'm expecting. And when you build that kind of influence, you get to a place of taking this relationship to the next level, beyond a one-time transaction, but into what many call a raving fan. That this customer is going to continue coming back. They're going to continue to return. You don't have to work to bring them back. They are team you. They are on your team. They are, even as a customer, just as much a part of your team as any of your employees. They are in this with you, side by side, shoulder to shoulder. Let's build the business because we have pushed through this place of transaction and gotten to a place of influence. Now, we talk about this being a digital world. And in the digital world, where so much of what we do is built on technology, we've lost a lot of the opportunities to build influence. My bank is not going to build influence with me when I'm using their app. I'm not going to see my banker face to face and develop that relationship like I would have in a pre-digital age. There are so many components of our culture and our world. The coronavirus epidemic has even pushed that further. Can you imagine what our COVID experience would have been like without technology? If restaurants had not been able to have mobile ordering, if we could not have used an app to order and pick up, even for delivery, whether from Amazon or curbside pickup at Target or Walmart, Home Depot, technology has a significant impact on how we're responding to the world around us. And so as you think about building influence, we have to work even harder to build that. We're in a very technology driven, digital, transactional world. But influence is where the pendulum is swinging back from digital efficiencies to peak performance. If you want to take your performance to the next level, there is certainly a level of scale that you must take to build your business and grow your business. And honestly, when you look at my example of the customer service in the cabin business, I was only in the Smoky Mountains about 72 hours a year. I did that digitally. It is possible to build chemistry, competency, credibility, and character through your digital communications. But it looks different. It might be a little more out of your comfort zone. But unlocking those four components of influence will take your interactions with your customers to the next level. And you will be able to build a business worth following with the customers that you want to have, who will do much of the storytelling and marketing for you. And that's what we're going to talk about in the last segment, is how this goes beyond simply the transaction to what are the benefits of building influence with your customers. So all that and more as we wrap up in a few minutes. You're listening to the New Generation Leader on IBGR, International Business Growth Radio. Hey, thanks for listening to the New Generation Leader live on YouTube, Facebook, and IBGR.network today. Download the show notes at IBGR.network. Join the conversation, hashtag New Generation Leader. We'd love to have you as part of the conversation, answer your questions live on the show, and keep this conversation going. We want to help you become the leader the digital world needs you to be. One last segment today on building influence with your customers. We'll be back after this short break on IBGR. Welcome back to the New Generation Leader on IBGR. Thanks so much for listening today. This is our last segment of the show today, as we are talking building influence with customers. Now, I want to turn your attention. I always say on the show, and we say throughout the station, that we are more than just a radio station. We are a network. And here's what we mean by this. You can be part of the conversation throughout the week. Ask questions, continue the conversation beyond each 1 hour show throughout the week. Now, if you go to IBGR.network, join the community of commerce. It's like our own insider IBGR social network. You can pose questions, you can engage, ask questions, join the conversation, maybe even add your perspective. And as you are looking for those key voices who are part of your inner circle, one of the key building blocks of a new generation leader that we talk about is having those key trusted voices who speak into you, give you some added perspective, can call you on things that you might be missing in your blind spots, and helping you get to the next level. You might find some of those voices in the community of commerce on IBGR. But there's one more piece that's really exciting here at IBGR. We have launched the new IBGR app. So you can listen live, download the app, download the show notes, be part of the community, all through our app in your favorite app store. So look for that, IBGR, in the App Store. Today we're talking building influence with your customers. How do you take that customer relationship to the next level? We want to make sure that our customers aren't just here for the transaction. Because if one transaction goes foul, they can just as easily pick up and move to a new vendor. But if we have truly gotten to a place of influence, then that relationship is harder to break. And we talked about these 4 ingredients. So if you miss it, go back and download the podcast here in the coming week. Catch back up. You know what I discovered yesterday? You can listen to the New Generation Leader on your favorite podcast app, including the iTunes podcast store. Search for New Generation Leader with Aaron Lee on IBGR. They're in the Apple podcast store. And download, subscribe, give us a 5-star ranking. Help us reach more people with these helpful conversations on people strategy. But go back to the last 2 segments if you missed those, as we talked about credibility, competency, character, and chemistry. If you build those 4 into your relationships with your customers, your relationships go to the next level. You move beyond simply a transaction to a place of influence. You're not trying to hide anything. You're not trying to prove anything. You're in this for the mutual benefit of each other. Somebody is willing to pay you to provide a service, to provide a product, and they continue to come back to you as you serve them. So I want to talk about a few different resources. We talked early on about the challenge in networking conversations. When we come in with a purely transactional approach, we miss out. We miss out on the true potential of influence in a networking group. If we unlock all 4 of these components of influence, though, that networking group could become a significant part of our inner circle. Influence is a key missing component in so much of our world. As we've increased efficiencies, tried to do things faster and more efficient, we've put all of our eggs in the credibility and competency basket. But we've lost the art of building and cultivating character and chemistry. One of my friends, Scott, in Atlanta, he's a brand and marketing strategist. So he comes from a traditional marketing design framework background, education. That's where he has built his business, the bread and butter of his business over the past 10 plus years. But what Scott has unlocked is that the people side of business fits into the branding conversation. And here's how his argument goes. He says the culture within your business is part of your brand. Your employees live out your brand when they're on the clock and when they're off the clock. Imagine if your employees went home exhausted, worn out, miserable, and missing out on the joys of life because they can't stop talking about all of the challenges and problems in your workplace. That's not going to build influence with potential customers in their networks. They're sowing seeds of doubt. They're raising questions just like a list of reviewers might do on Google or Yelp or any other review site. So if you build your brand internally with your culture, you're impacting how the community, how your potential customers see your business. The same goes for your customers. When you can push through to that place of having raving fans who are loyal and dedicated to your business, you don't have to pay for an ad because they tell their friends about you. One of my favorite, what do you call a realtor? He's not my vendor. Our realtor who we've used has become a great friend. And part of that is his dedication to stopping by to see us. In fact, I'm having lunch with him next Monday. That's the kind of relationship we have. Are we going to move anytime soon? I highly doubt it. We moved about 5 years ago. But here's how this works. Now, we had built a relationship and influence long before he went into real estate. We had worked together previously. And so when we were considering the idea of moving, we reached out to him. We started working with him. He showed us dozens of houses over about 2 years. And he continued to plant those seeds of how can I serve you? How can I support you? Let me drop by when it's back to school time. You're going to need a little bit of coffee, parents, as we head into this virtual school world. I have other realtor friends who drop off pies from our favorite local pie business to their clients. You know, those sorts of little things, hosting a meal, having a conversation, getting together for a lunch meeting. Here's what this did for us. Here's what this did for our realtor in working with us. And I want you to pay attention to this progression because it unlocks or illuminates the power of influence. Because we had that relationship, we moved, my math is fuzzy. I think we moved about 5 years ago. He helped us sell our old house, buy our new house. We moved 2 blocks away and probably won't move for another 15, 20 years. That doesn't seem like you would want to invest, right? Wrong. Because he invested, pushed through and unlocked all 4 components of influence. When my in-laws were moving to town, guess which realtor we called? When my wife's aunt and uncle moved, guess who we called? When our friends are looking for an alternative realtor, guess who we call? And so on top of a business where you may not have much repeat business, we have done as much for our realtor's marketing on top of his existing marketing and pushing that influence to the next level. And that's truly the power of having influence with your customers, that it's not transactional. Because if our real estate transactions, our real estate deals had simply been transactions, our realtor would have lost out on 2 or 3 additional sales. And who knows who else will come to him because of that next level relationship with my in-laws, with my wife's aunt and uncle. Who knows what introductions they will make. This is the power of influence and what you can do when you serve above and beyond. I included one more book that I'll mention briefly here as we wrap up the show today. They Ask, You Answer. And Marcus Sheridan outlines the marketing philosophy that he uses in his business. And think about this. If somebody has a question, how do they get the answer? If you start answering questions, if you start serving your customers, giving them above and beyond, they will develop a system of influence that continues to bring benefits to you and your business as you are serving those in every phase of your business growth. They're going to help you take your business to the next level and reach your goals because they've become just as much a part of the team as your employees. So go out and build influence with your customers this week. That's a wrap for today's show on the New Generation Leader. Thanks for listening on IBGR, and join us next week and continue listening throughout this afternoon as we continue to unpack the people side of business. Hope you have a great afternoon. And that's a wrap. Thanks for listening to the New Generation Leader on IBGR this afternoon. Go to ibgr.network to download the show notes, join the community, follow IBGR at IBGR Network on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and use hashtag New Generation Leader to add your voice to the conversation. I hope you'll join us next week as we talk about, what are we talking next week? Motivating your team for accountability. So join us next week, next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on IBGR. Thanks for watching.